Oh my goodness, welcome back. Oh, great turnout. Quite a few people joining in here. Good to see. Let me share the link as always in Stage Archive. Perfect. Alright guys, come on down to Stage Chat, or AMA Chat I should say. Hello, hello. I couldn't come back without a nice tea, so got that going. Alright, quite an eventful 2 weeks, no? Quite an interesting and eventful 2 weeks. Got some nice ground to cover, really good questions. Yeah. Sinner said that's an understatement. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, it's going to get started. The recording, of course, is going, so anyone coming in late or listening to this later, he'll have the information. So let's go ahead and jump in. Obviously, it's really good to be back. And yeah, let's get started. Well, just today we announced, you guys saw, we now have a metrics dashboard for our concentrated liquidity Dyson vaults with the historical APY and TVL. I know this has been one of the most widely requested and anticipated additions. And so, of course, we're super excited to finally have it live. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to do so in Dyson. And of course, we will have more tracking to come in time. But that's really cool to see that that is up and running. I know I myself always wanted that to be within Dyson, and to see it there personally is very satisfying. So really cool that that is there now. I did want to go through a quick refresher about the ylSPHERE unlocking, because obviously there was chaos around that initially, but things were smoothed over. So when your locking period is up, you can choose to relock, withdraw, or keep your sphere deposited without relocking or without doing anything. Relocking and withdrawing are pretty self-explanatory, and each one must be done manually, whichever one you choose. But please claim your rewards first before you either relock or withdraw. That's very important, and you'll actually get a warning reminding you to do so. Keeping your sphere deposited without locking it is going to have some nuance to it. So this is if you neither relock nor withdraw, you can actually still continue to earn yield, but you will progressively earn fewer and fewer rewards until 3 weeks after your unlock, at which point you will not earn any rewards unless you relock. And then additionally, after those 3 weeks, if you still have neither relocked nor withdrawn, that sphere then becomes eligible to be kicked from the pool by any community member via the contract. And then the kicked party will lose a small percent of their sphere and unclaimed earnings to the one doing the kicking. So ultimately, what this boils down to is by week 3, ideally sooner so that you don't miss out on rewards, but by week 3, you will need to make that decision between manually relocking or manually withdrawing. And yes, to go into that just a tad, as you may know, with the first unlock, we encountered the unexpected UI bug. Fortunately, we were able to pretty swiftly resolve that issue, and we are continuing to work on Dyson UI updates, including for ylSPHERE, like rewards, loading issues, relocking, withdrawing, claiming. So if you do encounter any issues, please rest assured we are working on improving that user experience. And yes, as Ultra pointed out, it is not a forever lock. It is a 17-week lock. So there is an expectation there that you will need to then make a decision at the end of that 17-week lock to either relock to continue getting the yield or withdraw from the pool to use that sphere as you best see fit. Interesting question, Danny. Um, I'm gonna kind of, I'm gonna bring your question over to my to other AMA questions because it kind of relates a little bit to some of the questions there, and I think it'll be easier to talk about that in that context after I go through some more of the announcements I have. So where do I want to put that? I want to put that right here. All right. Yep. So I've added it to my list of stage questions. We'll get to it because it kind of fits in with another question by our boy Sinner. So we'll get to that. But we do want to say that where am I now? There we go. With the relock rate sitting at about 40 to 50% higher than the withdrawal rate, we definitely want to express our gratitude to all of you for your confidence and trust in our project and ecosystem. This adds more fire to our passion to continue to expand and improve upon Sphere and everything we are building. So our deepest thank you for that. As you've seen, we've also announced that burns are finally coming back, and we've alluded to that in the past that burns would come back just with a slightly different flavor than in the past. So rather than use treasury funds to straight up burn Sphere directly, treasury funds will be used to buy back and disperse Sphere tokens to ylSPHEREans in the form of vested or vSphere, not to be confused with vESPHERE, which is vote S crowd sphere for V3. So in a nutshell, this means that locking Sphere as ylSPHERE will earn you both real yield in blue chip tokens as you have been receiving, and in addition to that, you will also earn vested Sphere. Vested Sphere can be used in several ways. First, it can be zapped directly into ylSPHERE at any time, so that will then enter into the normal 17-week lock period in exchange for those normal rewards. So it's a way to compound your Sphere earnings and still earn the blue chips on the side. Second, it can be vested and subsequently claimed. So if you vest for the maximum time period, you will receive a 1-to-1 ratio of vSphere or vested Sphere to Sphere. However, if you choose to vest for a shorter period of time than the maximum, then you will only be able to claim less Sphere based on a calculation, and the remaining Sphere will be burned. So this basically allows users to choose a shorter vesting duration of their vested Sphere to Sphere at the cost of giving up a portion of their Sphere tokens, which would subsequently be burned. Sinner, I never understood why it's a 21-week vest or a 17-week ylSPHERE lock. Didn't make a lot of sense in my head. So it's not finalized yet. That was just kind of the starting point. But once it's finalized, I guess we can talk more about it. All right, just a couple more announcements, and then Danny, I do see your question. We'll get to that. I did want to mention that Dyson, as you hopefully saw in the announcements, will be one of ylSPHERE's main ALMs on their concentrated liquidity update, can't speak, which will be mutually beneficial, of course, for all parties involved. And CryptoFat sat down on Twitter Spaces with ylSPHERE to discuss this partnership. And the recording of that AMA is available for those who missed it. And CryptoFat did an amazing job, in my opinion. So I definitely encourage you to take a listen when you have the time. And what I wanted to do is post that link here in AMA board so that we have that available as well. So we got that there. All right, a couple more things, then I'll get to your question, Danny, and then also the other AMA questions. Poker tournament this Saturday be sure to join in for a chance to win Sphere token prizes. And remember, it is free to play, so you really have nothing to lose. Come on down, hang out, give yourself a chance of winning some Sphere. All right, and finally, Preon is live on testnet. Oh my goodness. We are very excited for this milestone. We cannot wait to share more about what we have in store with Preon. It's going to be pretty awesome. Oh, thank you for starting the recording, Meebot. But never fear, we've been streaming on YouTube, so the recording's there as well. All right, let me catch up in chat, and I believe that we'll start with Danny's question. One issue I believe many people are worried about is the opportunity to receive an airdrop / earn bonus tokens from other protocols. I will elaborate. There was an incentive to lock tokens to receive CHR. Many people had locked immediately once the unlock happened to support the protocol. Will these people be out of these opportunities, or will Sphere figure out a way to take care of the true long-term holder? Team Clara said, my take is that is what incentivize people to lock. Did anyone else? Okay. Well, so there's different ways, and this actually comes up a little bit in a further question. And for example, I'll tie this into Preon and the Preon pre-sale. Basically, there are different ways that we can utilize different tools to help build excitement for Preon's launch. And basically, any tool available to us is open to discussion, including airdrops. So as far as the if, how, and when those strategies can or will be used, well, more will be shared in due time, so definitely stay tuned. But what I will say, Danny, is, we consider all of these different things. And one thing I do want to point out is the true long-term holder, the ylSPHERE, is rewarded the most within the ecosystem just by nature of the yield that they're receiving and the priority of the yield being sent to the ylSPHERE locker. Center, why not do 1717? Fair point. Not finalized, as I mentioned, for Vested Sphere. Crypto Fat Ultra manages to lose his dignity every tournament. Poor Ultra. Spongy Uno tournament when? That's an interesting thought. Well, we have had some discussions about potentially branching out into different means of community fun like that. So I would say if there's enough interest in doing something like an Uno tournament, unless you're joking, then we could certainly talk about it. Best. Right. Which testnet? I believe Arboretrum. I want to read the contracts. Very good. Indeed, indeed. Okay. Well, we have quite a good amount and quite some interesting questions over the past 2 weeks that have accumulated, and I see some AMA questions is open again, so I think someone else is typing in, so we'll have some more as well. But I'd like to get started on those because there's some pretty interesting ones. But first, the all-important TSIP. Very good. Okay. So the first question, Yo Mama Fat, now more of a suggestion. I suggest adding new teaser-like or just shorter form videos that would fit for YouTube, Shorts, or TikToks. It can help reach new audiences. Thank you. First off, thank you for your suggestion. This is something that we have considered, and it is certainly not off the table because I agree that it could potentially help us reach new audiences. So what I will say is we're going to continue to think about and brainstorm if and how this could be implemented. But it is a good idea, and it is something that we've considered. Khan had asked, can you present an org chart? Who is responsible for what? And as we've been in the process of going through internal restructuring, the organization of the Sphere team has been fluid as we work to establish better workflow efficiency and role definition. So in the future, when an org chart is finalized and it makes sense to share that information, we certainly can. But at the moment, we are still in the process of making those changes. Sometimes I like to pause because lots of people are typing away in chat, but we'll keep moving forward here because CS had asked what happened to the 550K that was set aside for BBB, requesting clarity on these funds. So these funds were and always have been for Spherians. These assets were being used to buy back and burn Sphere, and simply put, with the pivot of our focus from burns to real yield, for the various reasons that we've previously discussed, those funds also pivoted from being used for burns to being used to provide real yield for yield-locked Spherians. Sinner, back on the 30th, had said, friendly reminder that PT won't be hosting an AMA until the 7th. He's deservingly enjoying a holiday. Thank you very much for that reminder, and I certainly do appreciate the kind gesture, sir, so thank you. All right. Some more interesting questions here from Haz Nul Karami. Sorry if I butcher the pronunciation of that. What's your thought on placing an early unlock tax for ylSPHERE so we can burn those text spheres? It won't be a significantly large amount, but in these times where BBB does not run at all, every burns would count in the long run. I placed this idea in Sphere Idea, but only received a link to the Sphere token text removal. Would love to hear your opinion on this. All right, so this is actually something that we considered as a mechanism for ylSPHERE, previously and lovingly referred to as a rage quit option. But ultimately, we decided against it at this time. Thankfully, as we now know, burns are coming back in a different way with vested sphere, such that those who do not wish to zap to ylSPHERE and who do not wish to vest for the longest duration will be able to claim their sphere early at the cost of burning a certain percentage of that earned sphere. So this is helpful in two ways. I kind of wanted to expand on this, so I kind of built more into this about vested sphere. So first off, we do not need to use treasury yield to essentially burn money. Instead, we can use that yield to provide additional yield to token lockers, which enhances our capital efficiency. Second, this process provides consistent buy pressure to the Sphere token, which is a primary element of BBB that so many community members were fond of. Third, there is still a burn mechanism, albeit smaller than prior, because, as you mentioned in your question, every burn does count in the long run. The difference is that the burns fall on the user to choose to have access to their vested tokens sooner at the cost of burning some of their yield. So essentially, the coin is flipped from the treasury providing burns to the user choosing to burn based on their time horizon for claiming that portion of their yield. So yes, Spongy in AMA chat, so vSphere is bought and redistributed. Technically, Sphere is bought off the open market and redistributed as vSphere to ylSPHERE lockers. Right, exactly as Team Clara mentioned. Less attractive? Can you explain? I'm curious what makes you think that that would make Sphere less attractive, because it introduces a way to compound Sphere as you are, in addition to earning blue chips or earning Sphere. It brings back a mechanism to support the price of Sphere through consistent buy pressure, and it opens the door to introduce burning. Blue chip gains are more attractive. Yes, and we are still in support of that. That is not something that will be, removed from ylSPHERE. I can see why you might be worried about that, though. It's not like we are transitioning the yield of ylSPHERE from Matic, for example, to vested Sphere. It's not like that. Users will still receive Matic. And the other thing here too is if you don't want those Sphere, the vested Sphere to Sphere, that's where that vesting period comes in for you. You can choose a shorter vesting period and just dump those tokens if you wanted to, or you can compound it. You can do the full vesting period, whatever works best for you. All right. I'm going to read through this before I get to the next AMA question, because CryptoFat responded to Danny's question about airdrops, and I wanted to read that out. I think you're getting a. So sounds like a bit of FOMO, perhaps, of airdrops, and that is a fair concern based on how we use the Chronos airdrop. The Chronos airdrop was our first venture in that realm, and we were really blown away at how much the community loved it, appreciated it. We do want the people most committed to the protocol to benefit in the most ways possible. So while the Chronos airdrop could be argued that it didn't work that way, we are very aware of who those strong believers are. And without giving too much away, both with airdrops and or Preon's launch, we are going to approach these options in ways that benefit as many Sphere holders as possible. Every individual event may not be available to every holder, but over the course of many events, we want access to those promos available to as many as possible. So good response from CryptoFat there. All right. Unfold. Okay. A bit of a discussion going on in AMA chat, but I think I will let that let that discussion unfold and continue on with the next question, which is from Felipe. Are the rumors true? New chart with V3? No. To be honest, this is my first time hearing of this rumor, and thank you, VE Pandu, for responding to this, that it is indeed just a rumor. And I did want to expand on this. So recall that Sphere V3 will involve taking the 80/20 Sphere LP and vote escrowing it into VE Sphere. So we already have our 80/20 Sphere LP in Balancer, so there's no need to move that liquidity for that transition to V3. Moreover, recall also that the Sphere token contract operates through a proxy contract. So this allows there to be changes to the underlying Sphere token, such as an upgrade from Sphere V2 to Sphere V3, without needing to change the token contract address itself. So this makes it far more user-friendly, as you don't need to worry about airdrops or token trade-ins or anything of that sort. So it's a safer way in that manner. And ultimately, Sphere V3 is still in the distant future, so rest assured that we will be providing much more information about it when the time comes. And yes, thank you for the correction, Team Clara. Vote escrowing into VE Sphere or converting the 80/20 LP into SP Sphere, the liquid wrapped version. I'm just going to catch up in our AMA chat for a second. All right. Good. Okay. Still some discussion going on about vested sphere and thematic and or I should say with ylSPHERE and thematic and vested sphere rewards, but I think it's good to continue that. And in the meantime, I would like to move on to the next question, which are the questions from Sinner. I want to say, Sinner, just ahead of it, I really enjoyed responding to these, and going through these. So thanks for these questions. Price time. Welcome back. I hope you had a great holiday with lots of tea and washed hands. Firstly, how are you? Well, Sinner, thank you so much for the kind words. And yes, I enjoyed a satisfactory amount of tea and made sure to wash my hands plenty. I'm doing very well. Honestly, I feel quite refreshed and ready to get back into things, though, of course, it does feel a little weird because I will be away yet again the week of June 19th. But then finally, after that, we should have a good long streak of content. But your first question here is, what are your opinions about the SEC shenanigans, Binance and Coinbase suing? So this was an interesting question to think about. To be honest, I try my absolute best to avoid political discussions, and I certainly am no lawyer. I do follow these things relatively loosely because, of course, it will have an impact on all of crypto. With respect to my opinion, and not speaking for the rest of the Sphere team, well, here goes. So if the goal is to increase adoption and user security, I could be wrong, but I don't necessarily think the solution to achieving that is to go around suing everybody, especially the well-structured actors who have been strong throughout these market conditions like Binance and Coinbase. In my opinion, that is a lot of time and resources being spent pushing these strong centralized exchanges away that could otherwise be used, the time and resources be used to develop appropriate guidelines for those exchanges, which is what they've been asking for all along. So expanding on that opinion, I think that crypto and DeFi is really paving the way for fast adopting countries who are able to establish clear guidelines more quickly to then pull ahead economically compared to slow adopting countries. And frankly, it would be no surprise to me if the US continues to fumble the ball for the next several years, if not more, while other countries take advantage and significantly pull ahead of the US. And in some manner, this is kind of already happening with the global de-dollarization that we're seeing. What that means on an economic level, I truly have no idea. And again, this is just my opinion. And as a US citizen, I would certainly hope that we can get things together quickly to allow the efficiency and transparency of crypto to take global business to the next level. But we shall see what happens. I still think that other countries are going to be able to take advantage of crypto much more quickly than the US because of the US's inefficient policy processes. So that is my opinion. All right, after that rant, let me get caught up on chat again. T1, you are never too late. Anytime is a good time. Thanks for being here. Ultra banks are threatened, and that doesn't sit well with lobbyists. US is shooting themselves in the foot and giving themselves a self-inflicted brain drain, and crypto isn't going anywhere, and the builders will go where they can build. Basically, yeah, it's a new infrastructure for global transactions that is significantly more efficient. So the question is, how can that not be where things are going if you can save so much money and time on global transactions? It's just a no-brainer. So then it starts to fall on policymakers to integrate that and to assist with the integration of that into commonplace society, and the countries that lag behind on that are going to suffer. They're going to miss out. It's just, how else I don't know. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens, though. Of course, the future's always unknown. All right. Yes, very good. Please, reminder that epochs are coming to a close in 2 hours. They're changing to the next one. So if you have anything to vote, please do so. All right. Expanding on that, Sinner's next question was, now that the US government is showing a great lack of skill in managing new markets, what are your thoughts on Preon/Sphere having a different stablecoin other than USD later down the line? Really interesting question. So it's a very interesting thought in my, I would agree, especially with the de-dollarization occurring. But most people don't think that this will have a tremendous effect on global transactions. And even if it does, it would likely take many years to make that transition to a new standard of stable money. That's still opinion, but if Sphere has demonstrated anything, it's our ability to pivot according to what is happening in the market. So if the market begins transitioning to a different stablecoin other than USD, then I'm sure that we would be open to that change. Thankfully, as is true with the rest of DeFi, that change or abandonment of the US dollar standard does not seem necessary at this time. So in other words, the rest of the crypto market is not moving away from US dollar at this time, so we should not either, but it's an interesting thought. I think we will see a lot of changes coming in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years in terms of finances and how global transactions occur. US Congress is just doing this so they can buy more Bitcoin cheaper. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, we really dropped the ball on this. How can we get back in on this?" Best swing traders in the game sold all the confiscated Bitcoin. Now it's time to drop the price and buy it back up. As much as it hurts, it kind of feels true. Kind of feels true. Opinion. All right, so Danny, now I wanted to address your question because it kind of ties into that. Is there any fear with Matic being part of the securities issue and Sphere paired to Matic? No, not really. I mean, sure, this is always on our minds about how these policies are going to affect Sphere and what we are building, but kind of falls into the same realm of what is the rest of the market doing? What is the rest of the crypto space doing? And how can we pivot in accordance with that? And right now people are simply not pivoting away from things like Matic. So why should we? Kind of a thought. But again, all of these things do deserve consideration. So as always, it's a good thought. All right. The last part of Senator's question. You were away for the first craziness of unlocks, but this will be just before the second wave. Indeed, just about 2 hours. How volatile do you think it will be? So I was away, but I do have to admit, much to the dismay of my wife, even on vacation, I could not help myself but to be involved and witness the events unfold. So I was watching the price, I was watching the chats as the whole thing went down. Of course, I knew our team had it handled, but yeah, I couldn't pull myself away. So it is what it is. Yeah. So with regard to the second wave of unlocks, my guess is as good as yours. All we have to compare to is past performance, even though we know that past performance does not predict future performance. So for example, with the first unlock, yes, there was a lot of sells, but the majority of that was bought back up pretty quickly. And as the absolute GOAT that Surma is, Surma has helped demonstrate that more Sphere has been relocked than has been withdrawn, though a good amount of Sphere remains pending as neither relocked nor withdrawn. And of course, gotta link it in our stage board because it is just too spicy. the Surma dashboard. For those curious, though, around 910 million Sphere will be unlocked with this epoch, which will occur in just under 2 hours from now, which is around 33% fewer tokens being unlocked this time compared to last week. So, what does this all mean, right? The only thing I can say for sure is that anything can happen. So, I suggest being prepared with different scenarios of what could happen and plan for how you might act based on those scenarios according to your own financial goals and resources. That is what I would say about that. Spongy tinfoil hat on. I think there's TradeFi behind Gensler on lawsuits and SEC actions. Can almost guarantee. Oh, it's so sad. This is a whole rant in and of itself. I'm going to try and keep it concise, but I think this highlights the importance of DeFi and transparency of global transactions, because then it becomes evident what people are doing and where and how, and it really does have some potential to increase the honesty of financial parties. Who knows? We shall see. Call me hopeful, I suppose. All right, Spongy, your question. How does the internal strategic decision-making process go for Preon? Well, the team has a full staff Discord to allow ideas to be gathered and utilized from the entire staff. And then ultimately, the final decisions come from those upon which that responsibility lies. So, is what it is. All right. Next question I have, and then I see we got some more, so I'll check that out. But Mello, did the team discuss anything about a potential Preon airdrop for the largest YL holders? So this is a similar type of question and thought process as we talked about earlier, but I first want to thank T1 for providing the link to the Sphere Ideas channel where this topic has been discussed between the community and team for some time now. So thank you for that. And in response to this, similar to what I mentioned earlier, utilizing every tool we have to help build excitement and FOMO for Preon is on the table for discussion, including airdrops. And then ultimately, in terms of the if, how, and when these strategies can or will be used, that's going to be something that we share more in due time. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll update you as things come forward. What's next after Preon? Nice. Sphere Lend, right? Ultra says just have to wait and see. To that extent too as well. But what's been, I think, nicely referred to as the Holy Trinity, quote unquote, of getting Preon, Dyson, and Sphere Lend, getting that trio really up and running, working together synergistically. And that's kind of the core focus. Oh, I see. Regarding the Preon launch strat. Yes, indeed. Just have to wait and see. Want to know more after Covenant? So many code names. Pardon, I know. I like the name actually. You need the accent over the O though. Perron. I think it really spices it up a bit. Maybe that's what should come next after Covenant. Is Perron. Anywho, what was I gonna say? I think that's the cool thing, the interesting thing about Sphere Center is that wherever you have inefficiencies in the market, there can be an opportunity to Sphere to build on top of that, which means that the number of protocols and projects underneath the Sphere umbrella becomes virtually endless, right? Because there will always be inefficiencies in these markets and opportunities for us to build synergistically with other protocols, or as is in the case of Preon, build out our own solutions, our own unique solutions to problems. So that's the really interesting thing about Sphere that, in my opinion, is so cool. And I also get that that can be unsettling to some because of all the pivoting involved within that. But if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint, I suppose, you need to evolve to survive. And I think we've demonstrated quite well that we are able to do that and willing to do that. Right, adapt or be left behind. T1, any updates on liquid farmed Matic? No, not at this time. There's been a lot of focus on Preon and getting that up and going. All right, there's still some more questions. I'm going to jump to AMA questions. All right, Kraz. Preon is live on testnet. Do we have a rough ETA for mainnet? Ooh, it's a when question. Ugh. I cannot answer when questions. I'm sorry. Sphere's taking a big hit. Are there any plans to buy Sphere back to help pump up the price? I guess technically through vested Sphere, and Spongy, we kind of answered your question. I see you placed it here as well. But just to reiterate, for Kraz, the treasury yields, I should say a portion of the treasury yields will be used to buy Sphere off the market and then distribute that as a portion of the ylSPHERE yield, so that yield-locked Spherians can earn Sphere tokens as vSphere or vested Sphere, with the ability to either zap that into ylSPHERE or place a certain vesting period on that to claim the Sphere tokens. Mandark, now that my tokens are unlocked, I have claimed and removed them, so you've withdrawn them. Do I put them back in the single-sided pool? There's been some chat about how the rewards for this pool will change. Oh, okay. So, yes. So you are, of course, free to do with the withdrawn Sphere as you would like. You can certainly relock them for another 17 weeks, and you will continue earning the rewards, the blue chip tokens. The rewards for this pool will change slightly, in that a portion of the yield will become vested Sphere or vSphere, which we've talked about, Mandark. If you have further questions about this, please let us know in either Dyson chat or Sphere chat, and our mods or our team will be happy to assist you with that and answer. And thank you, T1, as well for answering. And yes, thank you for reminding me, always claim your earnings first. Though I think it gives you a warning to do so. When Lotus? ¿Qué pasó? Team Clara, while in the short run, I would benefit from an airdrop. I think I would do more harm than good for overall holder attitude. Oh, I see. If you just gave an airdrop to the largest holders. It created a lot of fun in the Discord when the Chronos contest was going on. Right, so, we everything's a learning experience, right? It's important to have that type of mindset. So there's a lot that we learned from the Chronos airdropped. Number one, it was effective. But number two, there was some, what word am I looking for? Resentment of these larger holders would be like, well, hey, I'm this big supporter, why wasn't I rewarded more? So we're trying to figure out ways to see how we can give opportunities for a whole host of different types of people to be able to participate fairly in the Preon pre-sale. And of course, a lot of those aspects are still in the brainstorming phase, finalizing things. So there's nothing concrete I can say right now, but rest assured, of course, we'll announce things as they come forward. and people will be able to participate in those events. I see now, Spongy, one Lotus car. See, I didn't even know that Lotus was a type of car, so I should tell you. Oh dear. T1, is there any information about Dystopia V2 as well? I know Tetu V2 is out, indeed, but I don't know if the team has asked Tetu when they will work on Dystopia. We have. Well, trust me, we have. I know Sim personally has been asking about when Dystopia V2. Is a similar type of response that we get when you guys ask us when, where it's basically we don't have a good answer. But yes, indeed, we are asking them about that. So we shall see. Go, Justin, go over the VE sphere again, please, as it applies to portion of yield earned for ylSPHERE. So please be careful here, right? VE sphere comes later. That's sphere V3. That's vote escrowed sphere. I know the nomenclature can be confusing, but the portion of yield earned for ylSPHERE will be simply V sphere, vested sphere, not vote escrowed. I know that's confusing. So basically what we want to do right now, most of the rewards for ylSPHERE are in Matic. What we want to do is start to use a portion of that yield. The amount's still in discussion, but we want to use a portion of that yield instead of giving you Matic to give vested sphere. So with vested sphere, with that portion of the yield you're receiving, that vested sphere, you can either zap it right back into ylSPHERE to basically compound your ylSPHERE, or you can set a specific vesting time period from which you can then claim your sphere tokens. And basically, the shorter the vesting period, the more of that sphere of that vested sphere will get burned. So hopefully I answered your question there. But I can definitely understand if things are still confusing, because there's a lot of nomenclature that's very similar here, which is why we're trying to be a bit more careful and specify vested sphere versus vote escrowed sphere. One vSphere video, probably Monday. I'm looking to do that for Monday. All right. So thank you. So the incentive is it buys sphere, and if people want it soon to sell, then at least it is causing burning of the supply in relation to vSphere. Absolutely. Exactly. Yep. And I would just think about vSphere, vested sphere, as a container for sphere tokens. And then the only way to get to those sphere tokens is to either zap it into ylSPHERE or set a vesting time period to then claim the sphere. That's how I would think about it. It's like a container for that sphere that the treasury is buying off the market and distributing to ylSPHERians. All right, let me go back a bit. Is Sphere trying to be listed on an exchange or not interested at this point? We've kind of addressed this in the past. Right now, that's not our main focus. We're more interested in decentralized finance, building with these other decentralized finance protocols. It can cost a lot of liquidity up front to get listed on a centralized exchange, and we feel that liquidity can be better utilized elsewhere. So that's still where we stand on that. Killer Beans, we could do airdrops based off percent of ylSPHERE sphere in any given wallet. Then amount of airdrop can be proportional to the size of the wallet and percent locked. That is certainly an option. There's lots of different ways that we could go about this. And as I mentioned, nothing's finalized yet. So a lot of things are still in discussion internally. T1, when you compound your vSphere into ylSPHERE, it will be locked for 17 weeks. But when it is unlocked and you decide to withdraw the vSphere, you compound it. What you get back is, no, it'll be sphere. So again, I think this is where it's helpful to think of vested sphere just as a container for sphere. And from that point, if you zap into ylSPHERE, it is no longer vested sphere. It becomes ylSPHERE. So all of the rules for ylSPHERE apply, meaning that after the 17 weeks, you can then either withdraw or relock. So you would get it back as sphere. So if it's zapped, it is a new independent ylSPHERE or can be combined with your own ylSPHERE you lock in the same epoch. Any sphere locked within the week time period of the epoch will be considered within that lock period. So if you relocked your sphere yesterday and you choose to relock some right now before, like an hour and a half, that'll be in the same epoch. So it can be combined based on when you lock. Yeah, some discussion about liquid farmed matic. All really good points, frankly. Team. Then in that case, would there be a point in even investing the vSphere for 21 weeks to get it back? So again, that max lock period is still open. That hasn't been finalized yet. Good discussions today, guys. Really good discussions. And yeah, Team Clara and Dora. I can't forget about Dora too. It doesn't really matter about getting liquid farm matic done if there are not good options for farming matic, which is a really good point. Nicely done, everyone. Really good, really good, interesting, thought-provoking questions these past 2 weeks. A lot of action going on in Sphere and in the markets with everything. So thank you so much for showing up and for asking your questions. Does anyone else have any questions before we close out for today? I think since we are near the end of the AMA, PT should describe what he did in his vacation. Wow. I relaxed and had a good time with my wife. Will you be buying the dip? Who says I haven't already? Oh man. Hashtag NFA, right? I'm gonna reiterate this because I think it's important. Where do I have that? Okay, yes. The only thing I can say for sure, because I know the second unlock is about an hour and a half away. So again, I suggest being prepared with different scenarios of what could happen, and then plan for how you might act based on those scenarios, according, and this is the important part, according to your own financial goals and resources. And yes, always remember that you matter for who you are. That's good, Sinner. Down equals act sad. Up equals act happy. Oh, funny. I am weird. Which is why I know I'm not a good trader, and this is why I don't trade, but I am a good investor long term. Because when I see stuff going down, I get excited. I get happy because I know I can get something that I see is that I think personally is valuable for a better price. Now, of course, when things go up, that's also very exciting, but that's just how my brain thinks. Last unlock, yeah, it'll be 7 days ago in 1.5 hours. So it depends on your time period, but it's 0000 UTC Thursday. So that is about an hour and a half away from right now. And that's pretty much the standard epoch time. I still see some folks typing questions, so very good. So last unlock was the 29th. Let me check. No. It depends on your time zone, but technically the last unlock was Thursday, June 1st at 0000 UTC. Exactly what Ultra said. So you may have to check your time zone and convert that to verify what time that is. Right now it's June 6th. Okay. 520. So it's for you. It's June 6th. It's June 6th, 527. So for you, the epoch will be June 6th at 7 o'clock p.m. Right? Yes. In your time zone. And so you can. What day of the week is it for you? It's whatever day of the week it is. At 7 p.m. are going to be the epoch changes for you, Justin. Wednesday. Okay, yeah. So your Wednesday's at 7 p.m. Yeah, I'm confused about that too, but that's okay. I don't get how it's June 6th, but that is okay. All right, I think I missed a couple things here. The max vesting I think should be changed. Yeah, we've seen a lot of thoughts on that. Clara and Dora, I think that's the whole point. In terms of vesting, vSphere is brilliant. Thank you. Kudos to Sim, of course, as it gives something to people that want buyback burns. That's right. It does not hurt lockers, correct. It adds some buy pressure, indeed. Does not hurt the treasury, also true. And promotes people to zap their vested sphere into ylSPHERE, which also I think is a point worth pointing out, to be redundant, is that in doing that, you actually encourage the TVL of ylSPHERE as well. You know, not just from the yield, but also from encouraging people to take their yield and compound it back into ylSPHERE. So right, yeah, it can help steer more people towards ylSPHERE to boost the TVL. So there's a lot of really cool components to it. Oh no! Did T1 just ask a one question at the end of the AMA? Ugh, my heart! All right. All right. Well, it's been an hour. One rebase, yeah. It's been an hour, so we'll call it then. Thank you again, everyone, so much for showing up. Thanks for participating. This was really fun, really good to get back into things. So I appreciate you all being here, asking really good questions, having great discussions. And we'll bring this all back for next week. So until then, of course, always remember that you matter, truly matter for who you are. And we'll see you next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.